All right. So last video was talking about how to write to a file. This one will be talking about how to read from a file. And what I've got here is in the demo section, I've got the my favorite poem, the Haggis poem that I forced you guys to endure on another demo before this. What we're going to do is we're going to basically read in the Haggis poem, and that's probably well, read it and print it to the screen is probably what we'll do. We'll read it and print it to the screen. Now, what I'm just going to do to make the poem a little bit there is a little bit easier is just remove a big chunk of it. All right, so there it is. That way, we don't spend all our time watching it fly past the screen. So how do you read the poem? Well, first of all, I did actually open up a brand new environment for this. So because of that, I'm going to have to go ahead and import the operating system module here, and then get this guy so that he is using my directory. I've got those two commands. Yeah, I think that's right. Those two commands ready to go. Now, I want to open a file. So it's going to be, now this one, what I'm going to call it, I'm going to be a little bit smarter with this one. I'm going to call it file poem. And actually, you know what? I'm even going to go one step further. File input poem. And what is that? It's going to be assigned open Haggis poem.txt. And by the way, by default, it is read, but why don't we just go ahead and put the read in there? All right, so what happened there is that it couldn't find it because apparently this directory is not the same as that directory, and that's probably true. So let's go copy. Actually, let's take this line. Let's go copy. Let's go paste. Let's take this line. Copy, and let's go into here, and let's go paste, and let's put those double slashes. Always nice for you guys to see an error, because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to see lots of errors on your own. Do that, boom, and now we're pointing to the right spot. So now if I'm going to go read, it's there, right? And so again, what is type FI poem? It is still an text IO wrapper. So now the question is, how do I get this content, which is currently on my hard drive, into the memory? Well, we talked about writing before, so now we're going to talk about reading here. And so the way to do this is that I'm just going to go string poem is assigned the FI, the file handle input poem, read. Now, if I was to say, hey, what is your poem? It's basically got the entire poem stuck in here, complete with the slashes. That's always interesting too, by the way, what it did there, but that's okay, whatever. So anyway, so it's got some slashes. So that's kind of cool. So that's how I got it into memory. Now, and then the next thing you'd want to do at this point is close it. So I'm going to not strut poem, but the file handle poem dot close, and now the file has been closed. But this text is now sitting in memory. So that's step one. Step two, it's not super good there. We're going to want to strip off those slash ends. And it's a poem. So in this case, I want to do it one line at a time. One line at a time. So how are we going to do that? Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, roundabout now is when I should start thinking about actually having an actual program. So let's go ahead and go file new and move you over here. And let's grab the lines that we like. I like the input line. I like the whatever line, this one here that changes the directory. I like the, so that's my setup. I want the actual open. So it's going to open the file. I want the, oops. Yeah, that's the right directory, right? No, that's not the right directory. See, if you guys were in class with me, you'd be screaming at me saying, Grant, that's not the right directory. That's not the right directory, or is it? No. Oh, that's the right directory. All right. Good thinking. There you go. All right. So then I open the file. I then read the file. And then I close the file. So that right there is a good thing for you to screen print if you want. And by the way, I guess if you wanted to, I suppose we could do a nice little print. All right, so now I'm going to go save this. I'm going to put it in the same spot as I put the other one. Do that. Let's do the demo. And let's just call this read poem. All right, so I'm going to now run it, run module, and there it is. It's run. All right, so notice there's a difference here. By saying print, the print automatically resolves the /ns. Okay, so that's the cool part of the printer. It's automatically resolving the /ns, and I don't think it did anything else goofy. I think everything else is pretty cool. Cool. So that's how you can get the thing to read in. Now, you'll want to go a step further with this, maybe a little, because this is definitely efficient if you've got a very small amount of information and you want to pull it into memory. But sometimes you don't want to pull, like, for example, a 2 GB poem into memory. You want to deal with it one line at a time. So to deal with that, what we're going to do is I'm going to keep this up here as how to read it all at once, but I'm going to go one step further now and say, well, how would you read it if you want to read it one line at a time? That's definitely very important. So the open and the close are going to be exactly the same. So let me document this. Read whole thing at once. A good question, by the way, that you may have asked is, Grant, you love the visualizer so much, you'd marry it. So why are you not using the visualizer now? I'm not using the visualizer now because the visualizer cannot handle us messing around with files on its own directory. So if you actually tried to bring in the operating system module, it would basically at that moment error out, basically saying something like not supported or not allowed or whatever. So the only way I could really demo this is either using idle or using Python anywhere. And you know, if you can handle the Python anywhere, you'll be able to take this code. And it's exactly the same code, except you're going to want to pay more attention to where your directory is, obviously. All right, so let's run this again. Let's go run, go, and just test it. Every time you do a change, do a test. And when you do a change like that, we don't care about this print anymore, so we're just going to take that out of the running. And I just want to basically see, hey, do you run? And you do run. Awesome. So now the question is, how do you read one line at a time? Well, how you can read one line at a time is you go something to the effect of the string poem line is assigned, the file handler input poem dot read line. That's a thing. Now watch this. If I go print str poem line, you're going to see that this guy's going to have only one line come out. And we get the very first line. Now, one thing I want you to note is, look, it added a blank line after that. Most of the time when you see it printing, like in this case, it's right. Yeah, here, it didn't add that extra line. So it's almost like it's adding an extra carriage return at the end of this. If I was to say, hey, can you read the next line? So let's just repeat this. Let's just repeat that and go again. I've got spaces there. Now that's kind of sad, and sometimes we don't actually want that extra line. So there is a function out there for us to use, and that function is called strip. And this can happen on any string. So a quick little bit of Zen for you here. Remember, this resolves to become a string. So what I could do is I could go string poem line. That's a string, and it's got a bunch of cool methods that are attached to that object. One of them is to strip, and I can say strip the new line carriage return. So I'm going to strip it here. I'm not going to strip it here so we can see the effect. We don't see much of an effect at all. And let's just, well, that's interesting. All right, actually, this should be sitting in memory now, right? So if I go, oh, I can't because I just overwrote it too. I overwrote. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to put the strip at the end of here too. So strip off the new line. Let's see this guy go again. All right, that's interesting because I honestly was expecting it to basically be a much more compressed version of itself. So I'm now stuck trying to figure out why this is not doing what I was expecting it to do. So this is going to be a pause while I look at some stuff. And it took about 3 seconds for me to realize I'm a doofus. So what happened there, let me put the thing back. First of all, no, I did fix it. So let's talk about what actually happened there. Remember, oops. Yeah, okay. So what this does is it takes this string and strips off the new line, but then it doesn't go anywhere. It would then just disappear. So what I needed to do was I needed to go and say, hey, the string is assigned the string with the new line stripped off of it. All right, so let's give us some error here. Then we read the next line, we print the next line. So let's put that print on the other side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to basically say like that. So the string is the line, the string is assigned the line with the new line stripped from it. And so off we go, and we're good, except I guess I got rid of one more print. But you can see anyway, it did collapse. Now here's the thing. I know I'm a big fan throughout this course of trying to get you guys to be pretty explicit and break down your comments or your commands so that you kind of know what's going on. But this is not a bad time for you to basically say, this guy, this string is the poem. So the file handle, read a line, and then do the stripping right at the time you pull it in. Then you can kind of remove that line altogether. So we're going to do the stripping right at the same time that we move it in. All right, we got the two prints. Let's go. And now you can see we're beginning to start getting one line at a time the way we want it. Now, that's okay, but how are we going to know how many lines there are in a poem? How are we going to know? How are we going to, it could be 5 lines, it could be 10 lines. How am I going to do this? And plus, you can already sense that we got some repeating going on here. Well, how we're going to know is that we're going to put it into a loop. We're going to put it into a loop. And the cool part of putting something like this in a loop is, now, by the way, for those of you that know Python, there is a much cooler way to do file processing than this. So full disclosure, I think I'm turning my comments off anyway, but if I did leave my comments on, don't tell me there's a new way. Yes, there's a cooler way, and if you're really lucky, later on the course, I'll be bringing it. But for now, not every language has got these kind of structures, but every language has got what I'm about to show you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my read. Now, you know what? I guess actually, probably before I do that, let me do this. So I think I'm going to try an experiment, which is always working out so well for me here. I'm going to go print, and I'm going to feed that right in, and I'm going to do it at the command line here, because remember, these guys are sharing the memory. And it didn't work. Oh, because the file closed. The file's closed, Grant. That's what, again, when we talk about error processing, we're going to be looking at that. But for now, let's comment that out. And let's actually, this is getting kind of crowded. So let's just delete you completely and run it again. And it's going to show up. Okay, there we go. There's my first two lines. First two lines. All right, so let's read the next line and print it. Didn't stop to say it's grace. Maybe some of you might remember what the next line is. Can I do them now all at the same time? Let's do that. Copy, paste. You just sat down and ate his face. Next line. We can't have this as that declared. Next line, and I'm starting to run out. Where is the next line? Can't have this as dad declared. Okay, so there's one more line. If that is 8, he should be shared. Now watch what happens when I say read the next line. There's nothing. There's nothing. And I can keep reading from this. It's not an error. There's just simply nothing there. There's nothing there. If, in fact, if I was to go X is assigned whatever the string is, and I was to say type X, it's a string, print X, there's nothing there, right? So we can then imagine a loop that basically says, while the str poem line is not nothing, okay? Then what it's going to do is it's going to do the printing. And then the next thing it does is it reads the next line. And then that line isn't needed anymore. That line, yep, none of that stuff is needed. All right, so in all of its glory, this guy should work. Oh, I just ruined the fun for you, by the way, because it's going to run on a different screen, but there you go. Let's just do that and bring it over. Almost done this particular video, but so this guy reads the whole thing at once. This guy read one line at a time. Okay, and we go, oh, and let's put the close back in there too, by the way. I'm being very bad here. Put the close back, we go run, go, and there it is. Right, so that is basically the two ways of reading these files, and really depends on the kind of data that you're getting. If you are getting data that looks like the poem, for example, it's one row at a time, makes sense. There are cooler ways to do this, but there's common delimited files you can read in, one line at a time. That makes sense. In the next video, I'm going to take you through an actual use case of using Python to solve kind of a small but interesting problem, and there I'm going to demonstrate the combination basically of file processing, lists, and sets. So, but get used to these two ideas now, the read and the write. Those two videos together should help out quite a bit, not just in the course, but just in your life in general in programming. You are going to be reading and writing from a lot of either files or web pages or something like that. All right, that's it for this guy.